What's up, guys? Welcome back to DCA. So what we're going to do in this video is take a look at a metric which can tell us exactly where Bitcoin is being held, how many are there, and at what price. So this metric is extremely important for being able to identify for us where we are very likely to encounter areas of support as we're moving down or areas of resistance as we're moving up. So if you guys like this type of content, hit like and subscribe. You could also head over to the Discord channel where we do a lot of discussion of the macroeconomic picture and how it relates to the cryptocurrency market. You could also sign up for the DCA Index Risk Model. This is a machine learning algorithm model that I've created in order to help you to identify where market cycle peaks or bottoms occur. This metric also exists for Ethereum and most of the top altcoins. So with that said, guys, let's do it. So we've looked at this metric multiple times now, and I think that this is a metric which we'll very likely start to look at maybe once a week or once every other week, because it's sort of a dynamic picture of what's going on the network. And by looking at this frequently, we can sort of see where shifts are occurring in the network. And what I mean by that is if we're, monitoring this frequently, and we start to see that coins that are being held on the network that are up here in the 60K range and the 50K range, if we start to see that those are diminishing, we know that there's capitulation going on and we know where it's coming from. Conversely, if we start to see coins building up down in this 20K range, we will want to know where those coins are at any given time, because it's going to tell us what we may expect as we are changing price. Okay. So if you're new to this channel and you've never seen this metric before, what this is showing us is several things. So at any given price, you can see that we have this horizontal axis here. And as we're coming up to a level, so at around $27,500, you can see that there are approximately 250,000 Bitcoin sitting there. So we know that approximately 250,000 Bitcoin have been moved last on the network right at this level. Okay. So that's a fair number of coins sitting there. As we're moving up to that, it will form a sort of a resistance area, because people who are in a losing trade, like they are right now, because obviously the price is down here at nearly $22,000, as we're moving up, some of those holders of the asset would like to get out of the asset, at least at an even trade, especially if, there are continuing macroeconomic uncertainties overhanging the market. So the more coins that you run into on the way up, the more resistance there's going to be. And that's why you never see, when we're coming out of these bear markets, you never see the price just go straight up typically to a new all-time high. It usually takes several pullbacks because you need to battle through these resistance areas. And so that's what we've seen in the past. And now you'll notice that these are colored, and we basically have green, pink, orange, and red. And so green, these are going to be the oldest holders of Bitcoin. So these are people who have owned for years and years now. Now, the pink, this is going to be newer holders of the asset, but still people that have had the coin for now 1 year to 2 years. So this is important because of the fact that empirically we can see that if someone holds the asset for more than 140 days, they are much more likely to hold and continue to hold. If someone has held a coin for less than 140 days, they are much more likely to sell at any given time. So if you've seen this metric before, we typically see a huge number of coins at any given place where we're at that time. So right now, we're sitting at around 22, 21,000. You would normally see a lot of coins sitting here from short-term holders. But I've actually went ahead and excluded that today from this example, because we want to see where are the long-term holders at? Where are the foundational levels of support or potentially resistance going to be at? Okay, so these green, like we said, these are the longest holders of the asset. And then once we get into pink, these are people that bought the top of this market. So you're going to tend to find that, if you go back 1 to 2 years, as we're sitting here in July, almost August now of 2022, these are going to be people that bought in July or August of 2020 or later. But you'll notice that very likely the vast majority of these people have actually bought sort of up at this range here. And that sort of reflects in the distribution, because if you're only looking at the pink coins, we can see that the vast majority of them exist right here at around 32K, all the way up to around here at 64K. So many people bought into the bull market, and now they are sitting on a massive loss. Many of them, 50%, 60%, 70% nearly at this point. So these coins typically reflect an area of resistance, you'll find. Because as we come up, if the price started to move up into the mid 30Ks, you would be running into these people here. And now the orange coins, they're sort of in the same vein. These are people that bought 6 months to 1 year ago, right? So these guys are also sitting at a huge loss. And then the red coins, these are coins that have been bought within 140 days up to 6 months. Okay, so you could kind of think of all of these coins sort of into one lump sum. They are, by definition, long term holders. However, historically, what we see is that these people that buy into the top of a bull market, they are probably going to be more likely to sell. Human psychology dictates that as we're coming back up to their price, especially now that they've been sitting on a huge loss. Many of them, if we were to get back to that price, say we got back to this 40K range, because you see that there are a huge number of coins right in this range, that's going to be an area of resistance. We're we're at 22K or so. That's a long way to go. That's a nearly 100% gain to kind of get back into this range. So what is around us then in terms of the long-term holders? So as I said, the short-term holders that I don't have on this graph, there's a ton of them right in this area here, right in this 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. But they're always there because the vast majority of the transactions on the Bitcoin network on any given day are going to be short-term traders. So these are people, trying to get in and out in a very short amount of time. And so these are going to be traders. So we don't really care about them because they're going to come and go regardless of what's happening. So then we need to look and see, well, where is anything significant above us and where is anything significant below us? Unfortunately, as I've showed several times before, and we'll just sort of bring this out a bit, there is not a lot below us. Until you get down here to around, maybe 14K, maybe 12K. Right in the 12K range, there are simply not a lot of coins until you get down to this 12K range right here. So we're looking at basically people that bought at some point in the last bear market, at the start of the bear market, all the way through December of 2018, or people that bought during this segment of the lead up to the bull run. So we're talking people that bought late 2019 into 2020. So that is where our next true area of support exists, all right? Or at least our fundamental area of support. Now, oftentimes you could see that we form an area of support at a psychological level, like 15K or 17.5 or 12.5, something like that. But once, you break through those zones, you typically go to one of your fundamental areas of support. And so you can see that we have millions and millions of coins that are sitting right at this range here, right at this area right here. So we're talking 6K up to around 12K. But unfortunately, you could see where we're at right here. So we are trading right around this zone here. We don't have much below us. There's some coins sitting at around 14,000. There's some coins sitting here at around 17,000 that are, comprised mostly of long-term holders. So realistically, these are going to be people that did buy the top. They bought the top of the last bull market and they held, right? Because that's the only way you can have coins that are multiple years old at this point and have bought them at 17,000, because Bitcoin has only been at 17,000 besides this bull market, or this segment of the market, ever since late 2020. It's only been at 17,000 one other time, and that was right here. And so by definition, those coins must have been purchased right here, since we know at this point they're greater than 2 years old. Okay? So these are people that have demonstrated at this point that they're not going to sell. They're not going to sell the asset. And so when you're coming down into these lower prices, a supply shock sort of presents itself. So that's what's below us. Now, let's be optimistic then. what is above us? Where might we run into some resistance levels as we're moving up from here? Okay, so we can see that at around 24K, right in this zone, there is a bit of resistance that's likely going to be there, but it's not much, maybe 300, 400,000 coins, right? And then once you get up here to around 28K, again, about 175, 200,000 coins or so. So not much. This is, in the grand scheme of things, that is very small. That's a very small number of coins. So our true levels of resistance that we're going to see are not going to form until up till around 32K. And that's where we're going to start running into it. All right. So if you look anywhere from 32K up through around 44K or so, and really all the way, if we're just being honest, all the way up till around 60K, there are going to be scattered areas of significant resistance because of the fact that we spent, in a unique way, in fact, we spent a huge amount of time kind of right near our all-time high. If you go back to these prior cycles, go back to the 2018, the 2017 into 2018 cycle, for instance. If we look at how long were we within 50% of the top, and so basically 10K to 20K, it wasn't that long, right? Like we plummeted straight down. We plummeted. If you want to look at the amount of time that we were actually making closes above 10K, it was no more, and we're looking at a weekly time frame here, it was no more than a couple months. But when you look at this cycle, how much time were we within 50% of our all-time high? So 30, 35K or above. And in this cycle, it was a huge amount of time. So if we just drew a box here, and we'll make it a different color. So, we'll say, just to round off, we'll say 35K and above. How much time were we above that here? And, like we said, it's just a huge amount of time. So we were above that, or, above that 50% mark for basically all of January, all the way through June, basically. We were below it in the end of June and through July. And then we were above it basically the rest of 2021, all the way through May of 2022. So this means that we are looking at a place where a massive number of coins, an unprecedented amount of coins, have accumulated in this area above us. So this 35K all the way up to our all-time high. Because if you think about it, when you go back to 2019, we didn't have enough time for people to accumulate a massive number of coins in that range. But in this cycle, you have millions and millions and millions of coins now sitting in this range that we are going to have to grind through when we do finally come back to the upside, right? So this is something to keep in mind, that, things right now are looking bad. Eventually, when the market does start to turn over and we start heading back up to the upside, I can assure you almost that it's going to be a battle. It's not going to be easy. We're probably going to get rejected and come back down to lower levels multiple times before we're able to actually get back through. And so, we could this is really looking ahead here, but we could just look at some important areas. And we're looking at an area like right here, like 35K up to around 41K. Okay. We'll just get rid of this box here. And where else are we going to be looking at then? And, and these are reasonable levels to talk about, because while we are significantly below right now, if you've been in crypto for more than a couple weeks at this point, you'll know that going up to 35K can happen within a week at this point, right? Even if things are looking bad, there can be these pumps that send us skyrocketing. So this is a level where I'm expecting a significant amount of resistance to be. Now, really looking down the road then, we're kind of looking at this area here. And so we're talking about 43, realistically 45 to around 50K. Sort of that area where we got rejected right here in April, right? When we came from all the way down here at around 33K, and then we got rejected right at 48K. I think you're going to continue to see a significant level of resistance there because a huge number of coins have been accumulated there. And once we break through all that, let's presume that, things are going great in the market. Then you're going to be looking at that 55K up to around 60K level again. So there is a massive amount of resistance above us in this cycle because of the unique features of this market cycle. And then, as we said, to the downside, you're looking at a huge amount of support, basically from 60K up to around 12K. In addition to the fact that I think 10K is going to offer a huge amount of psychological support if we even get down to that level. Okay. So if something happens in the market, if there's some sort of shock in the market, a black swan event, maybe in the macro picture, that's the kind of scenario where we could potentially go down to 10K. But I do kind of think that this 12K all the way down to 10K range, based on the amount of potential support we have there, based on the fact that we've already sort of seen a huge amount of contagion in the market break out, and it seems like most of the major risk factors in the market have kind of passed at this point. I would have a hard time seeing us actually going below those levels. But, this is the crypto market and things like that can frequently happen. But when they do happen, they almost always present an opportunity if you have a long enough time horizon in mind. Now, if you're someone who's short term trading, this is a risky market to be buying right now, hoping that we're going up to 30K. It just is. So you have to have a bearish bias at the moment. But if your horizon is long enough, I think that it's quite clear that this, like we've seen multiple times in the past, when we're down at these levels, they're typically buying opportunities where people that buy in now are rewarded when we're down the road. So at the end of the day, what I'm saying is we have some significant resistance to fight through when the market does eventually turn around. And to the downside, we don't have quite a lot of support until we get down to around 12K. So it would not be out of the realm of possibility that that happens, that we do go down to that 12K level. But I do tend to think that we're going to run into some major support areas, kind of these areas that acted as resistance in the last bear market. I think that those would then act as major support in this market. So that's going to be it for this one, guys. Until next time, as usual, see you.